Man, it is another great day for black belts and boardrooms. We are kicking off season 2. I can't believe it, Amir. We have made it through season 1. There was a time that this podcast didn't even exist. And now we are all on season 2 and just so happy who we have today. Of course, I know this person. This person is awesome. What she
Mhm.
does is awesome. Amir, who do we have today?
Renard, first and foremost, before I introduce Tiffany, I want to acknowledge what you said about season 2. I can't believe we're talking about season 2. I mean, could you believe it? 27 episodes in season 1, and here we are talking about season 2 now. So anyways, Tiffany, as you can tell, very excited. But let me do the proper thing now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to season 2 of Black Belts and Boardrooms. I have with me the honor of speaking with somebody who, let's just say, is big on getting resources and even bigger on making dreams come true. We have today Miss Tiffany Whetstone. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you, gentlemen, and congratulations on season 2. What an accomplishment and what an honor to spend some time with you both and share a little bit about me as a human, but more importantly, about the work I get to do.
Well, Tiffany, this is all about you. So let's start with what you actually do. You know, your title on LinkedIn says Major Gifts Director. When I read that, I thought she's bigger than Santa Claus. I mean, Major Gifts Director. So, tell us, what does that mean, and what does a day in a Major Gifts Director look like?
Yeah, no day is the same. I can start with that. I have the honor of serving on our development team for Make-A-Wish of North Texas. And so that means that I am charged with raising necessary funds to grant wishes. And we have a very clear mission to grant life-changing wishes for children with critical illness. And our revenue generators are the reason that these wishes are made possible.
Well, Tiffany, I have to now take you back. Did you ever imagine yourself? I mean, what was it like when you were growing up thinking, "This is something I wanna do"? Was that ever part of the equation?
You know, when you're little and you grow up and you're like, "I'm gonna be a doctor," or "I'm gonna be a dent," I was gonna be a dentist in my mind all those years ago. Um, and thankfully, philanthropy has been woven into who I am as a human, but no, I didn't know that I would drink the Kool-Aid early on and make a career out of nonprofit development, but I'm so grateful. I'm so sincerely grateful that this has been my journey, and I'm seated with you all to talk about it.
Well, I would say, Tiffany, you know, when it comes to skills, you know, you have a gift that a lot of leaders probably, either don't have or don't have it in spade, which is the gift of the ask. Would you teach us, how do you actually curate this gift, and how do we get better, I guess, is the question I'm asking.
How do we get better at yes? Ooh, I like that. I prefer a very relationship centric um, conversation, right? If I don't know you two gentlemen, then I don't find it appropriate to ask you to consider support. Um, I think while we're seeing an increase of that peer-to-peer fundraising is because Renard's making a page and he's saying, would you support me, my friends? Would you consider this nonprofit that is worthy to my heart? Would you join me in this? And so there's that natural trust that's built in your community. And so for me, this is my job, this is my career, um, I get to know you, Amir, get to know you, Renard, and understand what makes you tick, what's important to you, how do you want to be celebrated, how do you want to be honored, and what stands out about our mission? What kind of causes are you connected to? And that helps me to identify what your journey will look like as a donor or a volunteer. Not always the gift of finances or treasure, but sometimes that gift of time.
That's
And
amazing.
I feel Tiffany, like you've always been a person who's been about giving. Looking at your history of different companies, you worked for American Heart Association, so you've always worked in a sense for these places of nonprofit but giving back for the most part. So when did that start for you? When did you say, okay, I love giving back? How early was that for you when you started this?
From the days of doing the school fundraisers to in college being an advocate for, at the time, it was children's organizations or breast cancer awareness in honor of my mother and my grandmother. And so it's just been a part of my identity. And I think that I can attribute that to maybe my mother or my grandmother instilling the importance of giving back early on.
No, that is true, and you said a important piece about breast cancer. My mother, she passed years ago due to breast cancer, and it is something that is another part of me wanting to give back to make sure I help in the research of breast cancer as well. So, you hit a part of my heart that I also think about on a regular basis. And going back to Make a Wish, I would love for you to just tell us about there's so many kids that do get these wishes, but what about the ones that are still on the waiting list? What how long do people usually have to wait far as waiting for their wish, if that makes
Yeah.
sense?
So I'm going to set a little bit of a picture for you both. We are Make a Wish of North Texas, but we actually serve majority of the state. So 161 counties across our great state of Texas are served by Make a Wish of North Texas. Currently, we have 1,106 children waiting for their wishes to be granted. Um, Many of those children have been waiting longer than 6 months. We what we experienced as a chapter, it's not unique to our chapter, it's pretty consistent across the enterprise, is during COVID, we halted as many things as we had to. We couldn't fly children with critical illnesses. We couldn't send them to certain gatherings. We There were many limitations on the experiences that we could provide during that time. And as both of you gentlemen know, the increase of residents to the greater state of Texas is always it's growing. We're growing. We're rapidly growing. Our population is increasing. So we had a backlog and a jolt in families. So with that came additional referrals. And so really what we've been experiencing since that is just an ability to raise the amount of revenue necessary to support all these magical wishes, you all, that some of the most innocent and beautiful wishes. I, I wish to ride a unicorn on the beach in Florida.
Wow.
That's one that's waiting right now. I wish to have time with my family. I wish to have a golden retriever. Those are just a few that are featured on our wish tree in the office for just a very symbolic moment of the beauty of these children's one true wish.
That's so I think breast cancer is one of those topics that hits many of our families, myself included. And I have family members who suffered through it. But let me ask you this, Tiffany, because I love the work that Make a Wish Foundation does. I think it's incredibly amazing, and the great state of Texas benefits from organizations like the Make a Wish Foundation. How do you keep that heart in the hustle? Because you see these wonderful, like the unicorn on the beach. Love that energy behind that wish. But, like you said, the COVID piece of it made it a challenge. How do you keep yourself going? How does the team keep themselves going in such difficult, situations when they do come up?
I'll tell you, we have a magical staff. I am obviously biased. However, from our program team that is directly serving our families to our medical liaisons that are interfacing with the clinical teams and medical experts to ensure that we are keeping families safe, to our senior leadership team, all through the entire staff is a consistent dedication to the mission. And each day we wake up, we know we get to do this work. We realize that privilege and that honor that comes with serving families who need us most, and it's contagious. It truly is.
Well, it's
Renard
certainly
is smiling because he's experienced it beyond just our engagement. He's been to the office, he's met many of our staff members, and the joy that radiates from some of these team members is certainly contagious.
Imma have to say that 100%. So I'll give a little backstory, I wound up joining, and with Tiffany's thumbs up, I was able to join the Make-A-Wish Council. Got to go to the office first time. They were actually in the middle of putting a wish together for a child when I got there the very first time, and she sat there and explained it to us. We were in a conference room, and just seeing that just touched my heart. It was, I don't remember I don't think we knew who the child's name was, but he wanted to be a superhero. He wanted to be a superhero. That was his gift. He wanted to be like the Flash. He wanted to be a
Mhm.
super and just seeing how his eyes lit up, just talking about what he wanted to be, I was like, this is the right place. This is the right place.
Send the flash, and
Yes.
I can report his wish came true. I hope you go and find that little video on our social media and celebrate after this call. We had a custom costume for him, and it just again, that innocence, that pure joy of I want to be a superhero and stick to a wall, the essence of a 4-year-old little boy. So beautiful.
Tiffany, this is such a wonderful story. Are there others that you reflect back and say, that's one of my favorite moments,
Mm.
or favorite child to go help?
I I don't know about favorites, but I'll tell you there have been some of those just gut punches that come with our work, and we get a lot of rainbows and sunshine, but the reality of our work is that we're working with real families with complex medical care journeys, and each one is unique. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Um it can be heavy, it can be real, it can be a little messy. And so one that gut punched me recently, and Renard, we talked about this earlier this week, was a sweet girl named Mackenzie. Her diagnosis was a result of abuse at a young age, and her grandparents stepped in as caregivers, and they were doing the best that they could. And the wish that they have for Mackenzie was a wet room so that she could be showered properly, because the um, shower head was coming through the window of the bathroom, and they were showering her. And all I know how to describe it is a trough. And so um, that gut punches us, like that is the reality that we in as we're celebrating life and joy on a podcast. um, some little girl wants to be bathed appropriately in her home. And so, um, thanks to one of our fearless interns, who is now on our staff, she said, I saw one of those commercials for bath fitters. I'm going to call him. And they stepped in and they did it, and they donated the entire wet room, no questions asked. They served this family so beautifully, and um, that one just checks you. It checks your pride, your ego, your everything at the door, and um, you recognize just the privilege that we have.
It's an amazing
Try not to get
story.
emotional.
Yeah. It is certainly difficult work you do, Tiffany, and I'm just, in awe right now trying to keep myself composed as I listen to these stories you're sharing with us. At any point in time, does it ever you ever find it challenging that you have this great, you know, group of kids you wanna go and help, but you don't have enough resources. Is there any moment like that where you just say, "Boy, I wish I could maybe spin the story a different way," and maybe spin is not the right word here, but tell a story that pulls at the heartstrings like the one you just told us?
Every day, we're faced with the beautiful blessing that we are such a recognizable brand, but the unfortunate stigma that we are all set, that we're fully funded, that we've got all these amazing celebrities supporting us. They're sending kids to Disney World. Everything is, again, sunshines and rainbows. When in all actuality, we have over 1,100 children waiting, and for a child, any child, um, waiting an hour feels like forever. Waiting a day feels impossible. So when we're asking them to wait in the walls of a hospital room for 2 years, it's unacceptable.
Is it ever a case where maybe the brand itself gets in the way of the fundraising?
Yeah, I certainly a portion of my job in development is not just accepting checks, it's educating people on the need, right? I think when we're up against, we don't like to think of it as competition, but when so many folks are determining where their charity lies and how they're going to disperse their philanthropy, they're they're looking at their alumni, they're looking at the schools that their children are attending, their church, they're prioritizing. And when they see commercials for hospitals or commercials for other nonprofits that are really tugging and explaining what the need is, and you see a beautiful wish come true, you're comparing a little bit, right? And so we do have to lean in and educate and share. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Unfortunately, not all of our children make it to their wish date. We're doing our best to serve this community, this vulnerable population. But sometimes 2 years is too long.
I was gonna say that you're right from a standpoint. Make-A-Wish, everyone knows Make-A-Wish. When I was growing up, I heard about Make-A-Wish, but and you have this thing, it's almost like it's this big brand that, like you said, people expect, oh, they have all the money, everything's fine, every kid that comes to them, automatically it's getting done, and understanding that this is a nonprofit, that money has to be raised, etc. And we've had the conversation, which one of the first things that you told me in a meeting, just understanding the back end of Make a Wish, is that a lot of one of the main requests are trips. One of the main requests are trips. If you could you just tell us around that and what that entails to have a child be able to go to Disney World, Japan, or wherever they ask, what entails for all that to make that happen?
Yeah. So we we have I'll talk a little bit about wish types, right? So I wish to go, I wish to be, I wish to have, I wish to meet. And the fifth one we don't always talk about publicly, but I wish to give. So some children, want to give iPads to the HEMOC floor, or wish it forward in a way. But really, those primary four types, and the most popular is certainly I wish to go. I wish to go to Disney World. I wish to go to Hawaii. I wish to go to Florida. I wish to go to Japan, wherever they may wish. That's also our most expensive wish type. And so when you're thinking about a family of four, I think that's where everyone's mind goes. It's like a family of four, but nowadays it's a blended family. It's a family of 6 to 8. And then we also have to think about, does the wish kid require nursing care, and what additional layers does that entail for planning this wish journey, this wish experience for them? So um, our team, we gather the information appropriately. I say our team, our program team gathers the ideal wishes. We try to identify about 3 wishes, just to ensure that, first, safety, clinical safety, we're always getting clearance from their medical team to ensure that we're keeping WISH families safe and doing right by their needs medically. And then to ensure a meaningful and really getting to the why, right? Not just the what, but the why behind the wish. Because one of my colleagues, Abby, says it so beautifully. She was like, the what can change, but the why doesn't. And so if we're really getting to the heart of what that wish is and the why, then our team can create those magical, meaningful experiences, regardless of if it's a puppy or if it's a trip. But yes, a wish to go is our most popular wish type.
That's interesting. I know there's this some other categories that we talked about. People want to do photos. That's a big one that's in there. Has there ever been a time where it's just been this new ask that you're usually not used to? Has there been an ask for a child? Maybe it's some ask y'all have never had before. Is there one of those?
Think the unicorn on the beach is a new one for us. I think when Finn asked to stick to a wall in particular, that was a new element. And so again, our jobs are to listen more than we speak. And so to ask those questions of like, tell me why you want to ride on a unicorn. Where did you see a unicorn for the first time? Tell me what does that unicorn look like in your mind? All those tell us more kind of questions or open-ended discussions to really understand why are why are they saying this? What does that experience need to look like on the implementation and planning side of things? Um, because you just think about I'm sure you all are in the holiday spirit as you think about this thoughtful, meaningful touches. Um, our team's thinking about that year round, certainly.
Yeah, that's good. And another question, I know we went back that Make a Wish North Texas covers most of Texas. Are you traveling to all these areas that a wish is being asked or being granted?
We have staff covering the entire territory that we serve. So we've got staff sprinkled out throughout, as well as our volunteer network, who we call our wish granters. Those are sprinkled out across the entire state to ensure that we are either showing up in person or we are showing up virtually to serve the families where they live, learn, and play. And again, really connecting. The best, this when we're in person, it's just better. And so we try to offer that both from volunteer interactions, interfacing with wish families, and with our staff being present for donors and volunteer engagements as well. So myself, no, I'm not in 5 places at one time. That's not humanly possible, nor can our CEO be 5 places at once. But we certainly try to pour into our staff and volunteers to celebrate.
So, Tiffany, is there as you think about, the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the kind of ideal givers or the ideal volunteers, is there a profile like that you can teach us would be helpful so we can better engage with the Make-A-Wish Foundation if we're ever interested in joining or doing something for it?
Yeah, I'll start with the volunteer kind of profile, right? A volunteer for us is someone that likes kids. Let's keep it simple, guys. Um, who feels comfortable interfacing with children and families of all backgrounds and that are navigating clinical journeys. I think that's important. Not everyone feels comfortable in that space, and I can appreciate that. But really, I ask that our wish granters are the face of our organization. We're a grassroots led nonprofit, and so we need volunteers that feel confident speaking with parents, speaking with kids at a variety of age ranges. Um, that's at the core of what we do, and the ability, right? The capacity to take on a volunteer role and to be able to dedicate the time it will take to build relationships with these families that are in some of the toughest times of their lives. I think that that is another important element of volunteerism for our organization is um, the capacity of our volunteers. If you're tapped out and you're only able to give a couple of hours, then maybe we want you packing food boxes or something in the meantime. And when you have a little bit more time to lean in and build relationships with these families, and that's when it's time to connect with us. Now, volunteers, they're never sent out into the wild alone. They always have staff at their disposal. We provide all of the tools and resources that they could ever need for success. But we do. They are frontline. They are serving the families. And then for a donor profile, while my title may say major gifts, I um a cheerful giver, someone that is willing to give $1, someone that is willing to give $1,000,000. That all comes from a place of joy and generosity, and um, I meet that with sincere gratitude. So whatever that meaningful gift, I say that a lot in my line of work, a meaningful gift, whatever that meaningful gift looks like to someone is um is so sincerely appreciated. And I would say to those folks listening, or even you two gentlemen, right? Make-A-Wish is an organization where every dollar does matter, and each of those single dollar donations coming together to grant wishes in a timely manner is very helpful.
That's fantastic. I can't help but think about, the topic of leadership because that's a topic that Renard and I talk quite regularly about with our guests as well as, in private. And as I listen to you speak about the volunteer profile, I can't help but think if anybody out there is listening to you, they should look at this as a great leadership learning opportunity because not only are you giving them a safety net with somebody who is an expertly trained person, but they're also out there learning skills like empathy, learning with skills like families who are going through very difficult times. I wish other people would pay attention to just what you said and just go volunteer if they want to become better leaders. I mean, what do you think, Renard?
I agree with that. I agree. When you, in a sense, take yourself out of it, is it in giving back and especially working with any nonprofit, working make a wish, any other one, you're giving back. You're giving to either if you're if you're dealing with the less fortunate, you're dealing with children with illnesses, you're giving back. It's a selfless act, if that makes sense. You're not trying to gain anything from it. It's just you're just trying to do something good in the world. And we need more people who are willing to give their time and just do something good in the world. Like I said, I talked to Tiffany and she's doing good work. Make a Wish is doing good work into the world. So it's something you want to be a part of. I'll definitely say that, and I appreciate. I'm very grateful to be able to help out where I can. If it's hey, let me put you in contact with somebody else. Let me get this person on the phone. Let's see what we can do, because I think it's a good thing. I was raised to give back. I think it's the best thing in the world to give back. And Tiffany, I'll give you this question, and why should people give their time to nonprofits or just helping out? Why should people do that?
I'm a believer that time is our most valuable resource. I no day is promised, at least in my lens, and so I think when we give of our time, we are showing where our priorities lie. And I think that, to your point, Renard, when you lean into whatever nonprofit it may be, um, you are naturally more connected to humanity. You are naturally more connected to the good in this world. There's far too much chaos and bad to go around. So I think that to preserve some of our the goodness, some of the humanity. That would be my biggest call to action is volunteerism of any sort is is putting far more good into the world, and we could always use a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Tiffany, I my experience with folks who are like yourself, leaders in the nonprofit space, you're never attached to one cause. You're always somebody who's giving constantly of yourself, from yourself. What is some of the advice you would share to other leaders who want to make an impact and may not necessarily be in your space where they are doing this, professionally every day? How would you advise them to a be impactful and some of the ways in which maybe they can frame their mindset to learn from some of the lessons you have, but do it kind of in their own way?
Yeah, I think I like to think about it in three buckets. What can I do personally? What can I do professionally? And maybe what can I do with my connections or my network, right? And so, you're talking about leaders, and I think so many of folks that are young professionals, even seasoned professionals, are looking at their ERGs and they're like, oh, well, I'm a part of this ERG. We've been established for this long, but we really need to rally around something. What could that something be? Maybe that's a first step, right? Is your ERG volunteering together? Or maybe it is you personally with your family going to a local church or a local food pantry to serve families who are food insecure this holiday season. Maybe it is your network getting together and doing a fundraiser in honor of your birthday or something coming up. Like there are so many fun ways to activate, whether it's your time or your talent or your treasure. I think we as nonprofit leaders have benefited from folks doing training sessions for us in kind. And so I think of leaders in their industry that can pour into other professionals. I think that's something that gets overlooked a little bit, but that talent piece of, time, talent, treasure.
That is such an easy acronym, the 3 T's. Time, talent, treasure. So I
Mhm.
love how you've connected ERG, which brings in the corporate component to this. How do you engage with ERGs if there is a leader out there who does have an ERG program that they sponsor?
Yeah, I think right now, as a chapter, we have a specific need and call out for Spanish speaking volunteers. And so any of our Hispanic ERGs that are in existence, I know many of the companies here in Dallas have Hispanic culture ERGs, and so that's one that stands out to me. And it is a real need for us to provide equitable care to all of our Spanish speaking families. Um, Number two is what a way to rally a corporate fundraiser and get those attaboys that some corporate leaders are aspiring to do, especially those eager young professionals. Then to lead the ERG, lead the whole team in a competition to raise money in the office, and then you have incentives for whichever individual or which ERG or whichever group department maybe raises the most money. I've seen that be wildly successful in the corporate space. I think we tend to have a little bit more competition internally, like between departments but those are moments where people can shine internally while doing good. And so I think that that is a cool position for someone, an aspiring leader, as you said, to shine.
Well, I haven't yet looked into this, Tiffany, but you are dropping nuggets, as they say. You know, how does a leader get engaged and learn about this stuff? I think you've just gotten, us started on that journey. But just maybe a follow up on that is, a lot of these programs will have even just not even time, well, not treasure, but maybe just the time component of it. Are there programs in the Make a Wish Foundation that they could just say, hey, we're going to put together a care package, for example, around the holiday season? Is that something that is an opportunity with the Make a Wish Foundation?
Yeah, we don't broadly share out what some of those we try to make it real time so that we're just not having you do an activity to do an activity, but maybe it's writing holiday cards for our wish families that are in the hospital right now. Maybe we're having you make farewell bags for all of our families that are preparing for their trips and they're traveling in the next coming months. Or maybe we're having you do some surprise and delights for families that have been waiting a really long time. That's a tough one, is when we're trying to continue to stretch out that excitement, keep that momentum high and that energy high when they know the wish is coming. They know what the wish is. It may not be scheduled yet, but it's still coming. We try to coordinate some of those efforts around intentionality and really keeping um, the energy high and the experience excellent for all of our families.
Oh, that is great. That is great. I want to ask, and this is one of my last questions because I know we're getting close to time. You have a big night called Wish Night. Usually happens, of course, start of the year, end of the year. Why is Wish Night so important for Make a Wish?
As a chapter, Wish Night has been one of our signature events here in Dallas. In particular, we have some other Wish Nights throughout the state in our different regions that we serve. But Wish Night Dallas has been to stand out because, our folks here like to show up, be seen, and raise some great money along the way. I'll tell you that we're tracking very well to our events held in May. It will be May 2nd, 2026. Omni Dallas. I'm going to go ahead and shamelessly plug that. Um, Wish Night Dallas is gearing up to be one of our record-breaking years, thanks to my team member Anna Hendricks. She just got married, Renard, new last name. She is leading the way. She and our chairs, Marty and Amy Brimage, who are Wish parents. That's their most important title in my mind. And but both uh, community leaders and professionals here in Dallas, they are all leading the way alongside their committee to achieving great fundraising success. But I'll tell you, you guys, I've done this for a really long time, as I kind of talked about earlier, or maybe you saw on my LinkedIn. The mission is the center of this experience. So when we're talking about people that are on the fence of should I support Make-A-Wish or should I not, a great entry point is an event like Wish Night Dallas, so that you can come in, maybe not know anything, maybe know a couple of things, but to have an evening that is so centered around the impact, the journey of a wish, and to hear from these wish families and to see the magic in action, is you step away and you understand what you're supporting.
And I'm gonna tell you something, Amir. I'm gonna be at Wish Night. Tiffany already knows I'm gonna be at Wish Night. My wife is gonna be at Wish Night. If you want tickets, Amir, you let me know. We get you and the wife at Wish Night because it is just it's almost like a culmination of the entire year. And like she said, you're gonna have a lot of people there who are all there for one major cause and definitely giving back is that cause with Make a Wish. And Tiffany, I want to say thank you, of course, for taking the time to be on our podcast to start off season two for us.
Mhm.
Of anyone we wanted to pick, you were the right person to start off season 2 for us. We appreciate it so much, but before you go, we ask everyone. Season 1, we asked everybody what's their theme music. We're gonna do it again in season 2. What is the music that gets you ready for the day?
Okay. Y'all, I've got to be so honest. I'm one of those that needs to get prayed up coming in. So I listen to a lot of worship music, especially in this DFW traffic. You can giggle at that. I've got to keep myself as centered as possible. But a family-friendly, tune is, "Can't Stop the Feeling," Justin Timberlake. That's always a good one to throw on and have a little kitchen dance party. So, there you have it. A couple of little themed nuggets for you.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I can hear Justin Timberlake right now. I love it. Like I said, we are so thankful for you to take the time to tell us more about the mission of Make a Wish and your story as well. And I will say to our Black Belts and Boardrooms listeners, we will see you on the next one.